shadow won't smoke, but you only live once, rock forever. I've been trying to make it out for a couple years, dropped out, put back in, so the hood don't care, you can try to fit in my shoe, and you can keep it there, don't wanna live this life, I shed so many tears, it's all back on my BS, next step, hear what I did in the past, no backtrack, I'ma hold it down, I'm good, take a deep breath, I've been on my grind so long, I ain't sleep yet.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to Taisha Show. This is the Incredible Credible Messengers. Today we're not in my living room, but we are at Exodus Transitional Community in East Harlem. We are going to be talking about transformative mentoring and sustaining transformation. Today I have with me Ben Cecile Wilson, the ITM Program Assistant, also instructor at Exodus for high school equivalency. I also have Jamel Massey, who works at Exodus, and for development specialist for transitional, workforce development specialist at Exodus, right? Then we have Tariq Hicks, who's a program coordinator for the 4H program, and Dennis Prince-Matt, who is a professor at the ITM at New School. So, I want to start with you because you are, you're a program assistant for ITM, right? And also, this is your building. You're at the Exodus program where they do excellent work for community and youth and families, right?
Yes.
And you're an instructor actually doing a high school literacy program.
Right. What I teach is TASK.
Okay.
And that's the new name they gave to GED. And all they did really was make it a whole lot more difficult than the GED used to be. TASC, T-A-S-C, stands for TAS, Supplemental Completion. Now, what that means, I have no idea. Actually, I don't know anybody who do. There's a few task instructors where we meet, we get together, periodically, and we talk about methods and new stuff that's coming out and all that, and nobody knows what that means.
Wow.
All we know is that they made the test a whole lot more difficult by, let's say like the GED, what they used to do is give you a passage to read, right, and then they'll ask you questions based on what you just read. Now they don't do that any longer. Now what they do is ask questions based on the things that they expect you to know.
Right.
So that's how it's make it a little bit more difficult.
So, how do you get you're working with youth or adults or both?
Well, I work with both.
How do clients come into your office? Do you get like referrals? Do they just walk in the building?
Yeah, we have some walk-ins. We have some referrals. I have some referrals from the Department of Probation.
Okay.
And but most of my students are walk-ins. People who who have been discarded by the traditional education system, but they figure that they want to go to high school equivalency or get a high school diploma, and it's the way to do it. So they come in. Exodus is built kind of like a reputation around in East Harlem. Whereas if you want to get something done, then people come here.
Okay, nice, wonderful. And you're here Monday through Friday.
Well, TASK is here Monday through Friday. I'm here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
And does that how does that work with how does the lesson you teach at ITM work at Exodus?
Well,
what do you teach at ITM?
ITM is the Institute for Transformative Mentoring, right? It's located at the New School. And I'm a program assistant there, right? And what I do is help facilitate the process of healing.
Okay.
And what that means is you have people who, everybody's going through trauma, right? And one small part of a credible messenger is individuals who have had some justice involvement, who changed their life and turned their life around, and now they want to give back. Now they want to give back and help other people, right? So what we do at ITM is we take mentors and show them how to be credible messengers, right? And there are methods and techniques that we use that was developed by a program facilitator, Saj Rahman, and we base everything from a curative justice format.
The restorative practice that we were talking about in Carolina.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's basically that restorative practice model that you guys use.
Exactly.
And I like the fact that you said mentors into credible messengers.
Right.
So people won't get confused that a mentor is a credible messenger.
Not, well, let me say this, not every mentor is a credible messenger, right? And not every credible messenger is a mentor.
Okay, gotcha. And Mr. Matt is also, he works in the Institute for Transformative Mentoring as well. He's actually one of the professors at the new school. And he also has his own business and Glocks to Socks. So stemming off of him, kind of like just going straight into it, what makes a credible messenger? What makes you a credible messenger?
I think what makes a credible message is the ability to tell your truth without seeking glorification. So if you are able to help a young man or woman and show them your truth without them being one to emulate you and wanting to be just like you, which led you to becoming who you are, repeating that vicious cycle,
Right.
then I think that what makes you credible. Because a lot of times, even when I was young, there were credible messengers around, but their message was, you have to do this first. You have to sell drugs, kill, rob, and steal first, then you become credible.
Wow.
We teach, you don't do this at all. Get your credibility through doing the right thing. So, credible messages is the ability to tell your truth without seeking glorification, without having someone emulating your truth.
Right. So when you say that, because we talked about what Sincere was talking about being formerly incarcerated.
Right.
And becoming a mentor, and after becoming a mentor, becoming a credible messenger.
Right.
So when you say that, you say not to teach them not to do these things will make them credible. But if you formerly incarcerated, wouldn't that put you like in a seat of I've done these things already?
Yeah.
I've overcame some of these things, you know, and even that can make you credible. I mean, when you talk about healing.
But I want to make it clear. I want to make it crystal clear that just because I went to prison doesn't make me credible. You know, just because I shot somebody doesn't make me credible. Just because I've been shot doesn't make me credible. What makes me credible is what I've done after those things. What I've done while I was in prison. I educated myself. I went to prison with a 7th grade reading level. I came home with a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
Now I'm a professor at the new school with my own office on 5th Avenue.
Awesome.
So that's what I want to show them. I want to show them the ability to win. And you don't have to go through all the games first to win. I want you to take you straight to the championship.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So, and what took me to the championship was education. That's why we all in this room right now. We all are unified through education. The Institute of Transformative Mentoring teaches trauma-informed care. It teaches adolescent brain development. It taught you a few things.
Absolutely.
It heals. It teaches the healer how to heal.
Oh yes, I am in Institute for Transformative Mentoring too. So it's not like I'm not familiar with these guys. Yes, we share a lot in common. And one of them being that we are all credible messengers sitting here. We're healers, you know. We don't lie about our stories, you know. We share our experiences, but we're not in the path of leaning back. We're in the path of moving forward.
Exactly.
and teaching our youth and families that we serve that your path can be clear. You know, that you have to start from somewhere. And what you guys are doing is amazing. It's totally amazing. So I just wanted you to talk a little bit about Glocks for Socks?
Okay, so Block the Socks is an organization I started in South Jamaica, Queens. And one thing I wanted to teach the youth is I don't want you to have to be memorialized to be productive in your community. You don't have to have a mural on a wall on the side of Dollar Tree in order to be some type of, to make a difference in your community. You know?
Right.
So Block the Socks was an organization that I created where I went out and grabbed what society labeled as high-risk shooters. I went out and grabbed different gang members, Bloods, Crips, different street gangs, and I brought them all in together. The first thing I did was take them to the park. I took them to the park. That was it, simple. We went to the park, we played basketball together, we worked out. We got to know each other. After we got to know each other for 2 weeks in a row, then I brought them to my office. When I brought them to my office, I put them in front of my chalkboard, and I told them the basics of becoming an entrepreneur. The simple basics, the 4 P's. Production, product, promotion, and placement. I taught them that, then we started to develop a product. So mind you, these kids were all so-called gun carriers, carry Glocks, right? So they went from carrying Glocks, then they came with a product that they wanted to sell because most high-risk individuals are really not high-risk, they're under-resourced.
Okay.
If they have resources, they will never be high-risk, correct?
Right.
Correct.
So what we did was we created a product that we could market real fast and get instant returns.
Mhm.
So we decided to sell socks. So we went from carrying Glocks to selling socks. So instantly they became entrepreneurs. So the Glock the Socks program was born right there in my office with young men who between ages of 16 and 24 became instant entrepreneurs and started to gain their own resources by selling the socks. They became instant entrepreneurs and they were no longer high risk in their communities, they were no longer carrying guns, they were selling socks and bringing resources back to their community. That's how Glock the Socks started.
That's wonderful. That sounds good. How's it going now?
It's going great. So right now I'm creating a curriculum where I could use the same program in all the schools, nationwide, and it all started with 10 men. So 10 men where we could take out of the country and they could teach the same thing. They could teach 10 other so-called high-risk individuals how to become entrepreneurs. So not only did I teach them, I taught them how to teach others.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's great.
Thank you.
Jamal Massey, you are the Workforce Development Specialist at Exodus, and you, how important is it for you for transforming skills for formerly incarcerated individuals?
Very important. So transformative skills are significant because many of the men and women who come through Exodus doors who are formerly incarcerated feel that they don't have any employable skills, especially if they've been away for a long period of time.
Yeah,
and they don't
correct.
see how the program that they may have participated in while incarcerated can actually be converted or transferred to a viable job experience on the outside. So one of the things that we try to help them do is just think through this process of the skills that you acquire either prior to incarceration, even from the streets. There are
Right.
some skills that many of us bring with us that we can transfer to a viable employment opportunity. So through the Wilderness program here at Exodus,
And you said wellness?
yeah, it's called the
Okay.
Wilderness program, right? So it's called Walking Through the Wilderness. It's like a re-entry intervention to kind of intervene in the process of men and women who have just released from incarceration to find them employment on the streets. So there are a couple of components to this Wilderness program. There's a cognitive behavioral component where we get to think about what's in our mind that we may have acquired either again prior to release or some of the thinking habits that we acquired while in prison.
Okay.
We emphasize that some of those thinking habits, though acquired in prison, may have been successful and appropriate for that environment. Many of those patterns of thought are not appropriate for the outside. So we help them identify some of those negatives and hopefully begin to adapt the new form that they need to adapt in order to be work ready, right? So that's one of the things that we do. The second thing that we do in terms of skill transformation is to get them to see that whether you were a porter on the inside or whether you worked in the mess hall on the inside, one of the key things that help them transfer them skills is to identify what that skill set is called out here. See, on the inside, you may have been called a porter.
Right.
But out here, what is that same person that you've been doing that work for about 10, 15 years? What is that same person called out here? Once we make that identification possible, we can capture that 10 years or 15 years of experience. And believe it or not, you are ahead of other individuals who may have been out here for a while, but who don't have the amount of time doing the work that you've been doing, although it may have been on the inside. So transferable skills are very, very, very important. And it gives us an edge. Because oftentimes we've been taught that our experience in prison is negative because of our criminal past. Granted, we accept full responsibility for the crime that we committed, and we accept full responsibility for the consequences that came as a result of that. However, we also require or expect individuals to give us the same accountability when we do something positive, we do something productive. We want society to reward us the same way they were quick to punish us. So in transferring those skills, it's not just work skills, but it's people skills.
Absolutely.
It's social skills.
Right.
And this is what leads to the idea of this credible messenger idea, that not only do we have an experience, but we now have developed the people skills and tools necessary to engage human beings in a way that's not destructive or counterproductive. It's more pro-social, and it promotes harmony and peace in our community, and the resources that we learn at the ITM are very significant in that process in the wilderness.
Awesome, that's awesome. I really appreciate this now. When you talk about that, it makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, okay, so wait, you locked up, you on the island, you become house gang, right? You washing socks, you enjoy, you know what I mean? Washing socks, you wash a couple of t-shirts or whatever, you know, just to get your little commissary or whatever. You ain't got no family really sending you nothing in there or whatever, but you can take those skills home with you, right? Because, you know, if you go up north, you do it big, 5 to 10 years or something like that. You know, people, you come home, it's so hard to get work after coming home with a felony. It's very hard to get employment. It's very hard sometimes to even get a roof over your head. So to say that, you know, I can go home and just get a job, it's usually not possible. It's not that possible. But when you use those knowledge, skills, and education that you already acquired, even though, you know, you call it house gang, out here you can call it engineering.
Right. Custodial maintenance, right?
Custodial maintenance.
And it's a good point you bring up, Sister Tice. I just want to make one quick example.
Yes.
I've seen brothers, because being formerly incarcerated myself, I've seen brothers, and I don't know to this day how we did it, but I've seen brothers make concrete shine.
Yeah.
How do you make concrete shine? How do you do that? Right? They took a buffer that was meant for a plain floor and used it to make concrete shine.
Like a gym floor.
So not only did we come up and use the equipment, but we put together, right, these materials and all these cleaning supplies and came up with our own solution that can make concrete shine. How valuable is that? If you can make concrete shine, imagine what you can do to a plain wood floor.
You gotta mop
So
that with ice
you gotta mop that ice water, right? So the whole idea is to show people that those who we acquire these skills on the inside, we are ahead of the game in terms of our ability to do this work in most industries.
Awesome. I love how you say that. And speaking of someone that is formerly incarcerated, to give someone hope like that is amazing. You know, and it's just in those small words. It's not even nothing big. Like, you can do it. You don't have to give up. You have the skills that you need to survive in society. And that's so important. What do you do at ITM? Can you tell the?
Well, ITM, I'm just a student. But one of the things I love about ITM is that's like a trainer component to ITM. So not only am I a student, but it empowers me with the authority to teach what I learned. So although in one hand I am a student when the professors are talking, but in the activities I can become a facilitator. I can become a teacher. Right, just as those who are teaching me.
Right.
So I think that the great thing about now, and I love to talk, as you can tell. I love to talk. So to give me the authority to open my mouth, oh my Lord, I don't know what to do with that.
Wonderful.
It gives me the authority to share my message in a legitimate way, and I think that people can receive it as opposed to always filtering it through the criminal background. You can now filter it to the ITM curriculum, which legitimizes our experience.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to move on to Tyree. Tyree Hicks is a program coordinator for 4A's program, right? He's a credible messenger for CCFY. And what do you do at the Institute for Transformative Mentoring?
I bring all experiences that I faced in life from a youth to reality. Some people may think that, you know, the stories that we tell may be far-fetched or we didn't go through it if the outside heard it. But we know that these stories can change a lot of individuals' lives. And each and every day I'm outside changing individuals' lives. So in that circle that we have every Saturday, we share our stories. We share different ways of, you know, overcoming tasks or overcoming, you know, just things that you may face in everyday life. With different type of tools, like, you know, different guidance, different paths, you know, different pathways to go down, different ways just to, you know, tell our youth there's different ways of, you know, experiencing things and getting through those experiences. So, for instance, like I sit in a circle with, you know, these individuals next to me, he might know something better that I know, you know, that can help one of my youths. And he don't know that he's touching one of my youths through me, like, you know, so that's what I bring to that circle is like, you know, taking heed and taking everything that I'm learning from an individual that I may have never met that's powerful and magnificent, and teaching my youth that there's people out there just like us. Same face, same color, everything, like. And they take that and they look at it like, you know, if it's coming from somebody around their age or somebody that looks just like them, that went through that same struggle, and they know it because everybody knows that youth can see, you know, somebody was BSing them out of way.
Oh, yeah,
So
definitely.
when they look at me, they know, like, all right, this is an individual.
It's the truth, like as Prince said, it's the truth. It's real. It's coming from me.
Exactly.
Like this is you. How old are you? 19.
Exactly. So they can look at it and be like, yeah, you're around my age. Yeah, all right. You know, instead of somebody that they be like, all right, you know, you're an OG, you've been through it, or whatever. They don't want to hear that at that moment.
How long is the ITM program? It's a 15-week program, right? At what point did you know that this program was good for you? At what point that you say like, this is a healing program. This is an awesome program. This is something that I can take for myself and give it to somebody else. Like this is somewhere where I can learn from him and, you know, take it to him. At what point did you realize that this program was right for you?
I've been through a lot of programs, and for instance, I've been through Arches. I graduated through Arches. I've been through 4As. I graduated from 4As. What made me open my eyes to this program and this class more was when I got to share things I never shared with them other programs. So just knowing that I was around a family-oriented vibe, like people that I know that if I miss a day, they call my phone right away. Like, we know you wasn't there. What's up? What's going on? It's just that support. It's like that extra support, that push that they give you. It just made me look at it and open my eyes like, you know, there is people that care about you beyond the people that you may have thought that didn't or thought that had. Like, these are people that's here for you, and they genuinely, it's a genuine love that you get from that circle. So every Saturday that I'm in that circle, I leave with greatness because everybody in that circle got something great to share. Everybody got a great vibe and everybody got a great spirit. And you feel that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that's crazy because I'm in school, you know that. And I love you guys, and it's so amazing because I knew from the first day, you know, that ITM was like everything. First of all, it's an accredited course, right? So you get college credit for attending ITM. And on top of that, so that was already awesome, you know, because after being formerly incarcerated and you're coming home and you're working, you know, we are working. Everyone in ITM has a job and we're already doing mentoring. So, you know, when you have the job, you know, and then you're offered, because we were offered, right, through our employers, this opportunity to attend this Institute for Transformative Mentoring. And I knew from the first day, right? Because of the vibe that everyone had. But it doesn't always happen like that, right? We work at sites, right? We work with other people that we call mentors, and we expect to be credible messengers. And we expect that everybody will have this healing, this open, welcoming hand, and, you know, but it's not like that everywhere you are. And that's what makes us credible messengers, is because we open the doors for love, for peace, you know, for gratitude, for validation, right? For to be receptive, to, you know, to honor people that have been through the same experiences as ourselves.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to something that Brother Tariq said about the kids respond to you because of your age, right? I've had a few experiences in teaching the GED or teaching tasks, right? Where, like I said earlier, I have young kids, but then I have some older people too. And what I found is that before I started dealing with ITM, right, I had an authoritative voice and the way I interacted with people, with my students was, you know, I'm the authority in the class and I'm here, you know, to teach them, but they understood what's different from what I gave them and what they got from the traditional education is that they could see that I meant what I'm doing, that I cared, right? But then once I came to ITM and I learned about trauma-informed care, right? And there's a method that we teach you guys that are also used in the task classroom, and that is VCR, right? Validation, challenging, and then a request, right? And when I use it, let me give you an example. If there's a particular student who comes in, first of all, this is not mandatory for most of them. And so when they come because they want to, right? But then there were some who come and they don't feel like being there, and they want to leave or whatever. And one of the first things I do is I validate them for being there in the first place, right? And then I get them feeling good about, they feel good about being validated. Then I request something of them. I request something of them in regard to the work, right? What I might do is go to something that I know that they know that somebody else in the class who doesn't know, right? So then I'll ask them to teach this to somebody else. Once I do that, they're engaged. They're engaged fully, right? And then I'll challenge them to understand and get on the rest of the page with the rest of the class of what we've been teaching or what we've been going over in the first place, what made them feel like they didn't want to be there. And that, ever since I started doing that, that has worked 100% of the time.
Wow.
And it works with the with the younger students as well as with the older students. So now it's not. Don't get me wrong. I still keep the authoritative thing, because sometimes if you don't, in your mind, you get a classroom with students, and if there's not an authority, it can get out of hand.
Right.
So, but now it's not only an authority. It is an authority with the caring aspect, right? And like you said, one of y'all said earlier, that kids, people know when you BSing them, right?
Of course.
And it's
Well, part of it is your understanding
Yeah.
as well. You're in an institute for transformative mentoring. You're understanding the development of a child's brain.
Exactly.
You're understanding that they need to be validated, they
She's
need
learning.
to be challenged, they need things, right? Yeah.
Well, and they get that. They come there to get that because they're healing, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about healing is that, and this is an ITM motto: healed people do what?
Heal people.
That's right.
That's right. Let's go. So, I've been to a lot of trauma-enforced classes and trauma trainings and stuff like that, which is all great. But in our class, Professor Matt has came up with his own THP.
Yes.
And I want you to just explain it a little bit, the curriculum that you came up with as far as your THP. This is his thing. Let's hear it.
THP is trauma healing preparation.
Yes.
And it started in the early 90s with me and my cousin. My cousin was an EMS worker in East New York, Brooklyn, and I was a crack dealer. I was in the street one way, and he was in the streets another way. And every time my cousin went to a different scene, a different shooting, different gunshot wound victim, or stab victim, like that, he said every time he seen them, when he pulled up, he always seen my face in their face. And it used to bother him. So he used to call me, like at that night when he got off work, or that morning, just to hear my voice, to get his little therapy. We used to laugh and joke before we go to work. Before I went to work, did my job, before he went to work, did his job. And it was healing for him. Before he would work as being an EMS worker, and when he retired after 9/11, he was one of the first responders that left East New York and went across the bridge to 9/11, and after that they retired. He was my cousin, about 25 years old when he retired from EMS. Right now he's down south in Raleigh, North Carolina. And THP was developed in ITM. Yes, I created it, but it was developed, of course, with Sincere and our boy Sash. They helped me develop it to where it's at today. And THP is put in place to deal with trauma before you leave the house. So a police officer could use it, a teacher could use it, a correction officer can use it, an everyday civilian can use it, because what it does is it gives you something to hold on to before you leave the house so you can deal with trauma when you get out there. For example, praying ritual is important.
Amen.
prayer and ritual is very important before you leave the house. You should have some type of spirituality, something to hold on to before you leave the house. And I don't leave the house no days without God. No days. It's impossible. You know, exercise is another thing. You know, they say that the average person that works, that does exercise before they go to work, have a more productive day than the person that went to work that didn't exercise. Guided imagery, something that can guide you through the day, give you a positive feeling, something to make you feel good. So, because a lot of time when police officers wake up, they wake up with the trauma from the night before and they take it with them to work, and next thing you know, it's so easy to kill somebody like that. It's so easy to make a bad judgment when you don't deal with your trauma. That's why we deal with trauma.
Before you leave
the house. That's why we deal with trauma. It's so easy to make a bad judgment. One decision can change your whole life.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're clergy. I don't care if you're clergy to the president. One decision can change your whole life.
Very true.
So you have to deal with that trauma. And another one is remembering the happiest moment of your life. Going back to the happiest moment of your life, thinking about that moment and holding on to it before you even leave. Like the happiest moment of my life was seeing my granddaughter for the first time. So when I go back to that moment, I have nothing else but to do but smile. Because you want to smile, you want to feel good before you even go to work. Because you feel bad before you go to work, you're going to have a bad day at work.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So trauma healing preparation is something that, you know, I don't want to force on anybody, but I give it to anybody.
Is, let's say nobody else is in the house.
Techniques. Right?
You do techniques that you
Different
can use
techniques.
for yourself without anybody else being there.
I wanted to add music.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
my
music is
technique.
part of it.
Music is part of it.
Every morning,
Music is part of
I
it.
have to listen to Nipsey Hussle.
And that's
or something.
definitely, I have to. Therapy.
And that one person that you can call every single
morning.
That one, you gotta have one person on your list that you can call every single morning. You gotta have one.
I gotta have one of
You
those.
know what?
I can call my
I gotta have
mom.
one.
What up?
No.
Welcome back. Right now we have a new guest, Joyce McMillan. Joyce McMillan is a director of programming at CWAP, Child Welfare Organizing Project, and she's here to join us. She's also a student at Institute for Transformative Mentoring, and I just want to ask you, what are some of your hopes for the future?
Some of my hopes for the future is that the information that we're learning at ITM would be utilized in every system that there is. Because ITM is really about restorative justice practices. And I think we need that across the board in all systems. So whether we're speaking about mass incarceration or housing issues or redlining in the banking industry or the educational system, healthcare system, or child welfare, which is my specialty, restorative justice practices are needed because people that look like us are held accountable for things that they did not create and things that they are not capable of changing because they're systemically wrong. So what we need to do is put this restorative justice into all of the systems so that people can begin to have the outcomes they need and deserve.
I totally agree. Because when you talk about restorative practices, you talk about not just the victim, justification on both sides when something is looked upon, right?
Yes.
And what does that mean to you? What does justice mean to you?
So I'll give you an example. Well, what justice means to me is fair treatment, right? Fair outcomes for all parties. Justice does not mean punitive action, but that's how it's utilized, right? I want justice because something happened to my child, or the community needs justice because something happened here. And justice always means something angry and hateful, right? Justice is really coming together, understanding what caused the problem, and creating supports to change it.
I totally agree. And I want to touch on that. I want all of us to touch on that right now. I want us to get a little deeper into what restorative practices actually mean and these different cycles of life. Like you said, housing, employment, home, child welfare. So give me a little bit about what restorative practices mean.
Well,
What is an example of where restorative practice can be used in child welfare, where restorative practices can be used in TASC or GED, where restorative practice can be used in mentoring, where restorative practice can be used in workforce readiness and policy changing, and where where restorative practices can be used in healing. Okay, so we're gonna go around, right? Let's keep this in a systemic circle, and we'll touch on where do you believe that restorative practice. I want the audience to understand exactly what restorative practice means to us
Justice practice?
as credible messengers,
Okay.
and how we are using this in our practices at work. Okay, so what does how can restorative practices fit in your task program and what you're teaching and being an instructor and also in ITM?
I'm glad you asked that because not only do I wholeheartedly believe in using restorative justice practices in the classroom, here's why. There's a great author, Paulo Freire, and what he said, he wrote a book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed, right? And what he very generally said was that people who are oppressed are treated as if they can't learn, right? But that's not necessarily true. The people who are oppressed learn differently from anybody else, right? And what he meant by that is this. We look at things from a holistic point of view, whereas we don't separate ourselves, we don't look at ourselves as individuals, we look at ourselves as a group. The individual is the group, you know what I mean? So we're all one. So when we talk about restorative justice practices, one very strong and traditional restorative justice practices, when you have a group of people in a room talking, we sit in a circle, right? And the reason why we sit in a circle is because there is no head, right? And that everybody can see everybody. We're all looking in each other's face. We all have the same amount of power in that room, and everybody's word is just as important as everybody else's, right? And that creates a particular kind of energy, right? And that practice is sacred. They've been doing it. People have been doing it. Native Americans have been doing it since forever. And in a task classroom, when I use restorative justice practices, I find that I get a whole lot more done during the course of that day than if I was using the traditional form. What Paulo Freire calls the traditional, he calls it the banking system of education, right? And he said this was wrong with it. You got a person sitting at the top of the classroom or standing at the top of the classroom, and what he's trying to do is deposit information into your brain, as if you're a banker. He's making a deposit, and he just puts it in there and just places it, and that don't work for everybody, especially not oppressed people, because again, restorative justice practices looks at if there's let's say there's a crime that takes place. Restorative justice practices looks at the perpetrator as well as the victim. They look at the fact that both people are harmed, that both people need to be healed, right? And both people or both people in that circumstance get healing, and then if they can do it together, then it's even that much more stronger. So in that classroom, you have these oppressed people sitting in this circle, right? They're not only learning about the academics, right? They're also learning about how to change their system, how to change their
way of thinking as far as one person is right.
No,
one person
you're right about that, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is this: they're learning the education that they came here to get, but they're also learning how to think in regard to changing their circumstances.
Okay.
So that's how I use restorative practices in the task classroom.
Okay, wonderful. And how would you use restorative practices in your place of business where you work at, in Child Welfare Organizing Project? I wanted to say, because I like when you talk about the circle, I'm trying to figure out how you think about it as being restorative practice, because we're not just talking about two people, right?
Right.
So you're talking about it as a whole, and everyone having a voice as a community.
As a community.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
But the community is not focused on the victim. The community is focused on the victim and the perpetrator. We don't leave him out. Like Joyce said, we don't focus on this person and call it justice as if or we do looking at it as punitive things. What we're trying to do here, if it's real justice, what we're trying to do here is heal the community, not just one person.
Absolutely. And so that's what it is. In the work that I do, I see a lot of families separated from their children under the guise of protecting the children. And we know that America has never tried to protect us as people of color. Police don't protect and serve us, right? And no one else is protecting us. So we've been victims for a very long time as people of color. A lot of people don't like to hear that, and they don't acknowledge it, and they say, you know, stop crying, black folk need to get their stuff together. But what the system has done so clearly, right? And it's clear to me, and I think it's clear to you guys here, but it's not clear to our viewers that they have separated families of color on every level, right? For many, many years, starting with slavery, they never stopped. So when they say that we don't stick together, it's not that we don't stick together, right? There's a facade going on that we're all apart from one another because we're just that messed up when they have strategically separated us. If you look at the old movie from the 70s with Claudine, the movie was named Claudine, and it was with Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones Jr., I think. And she couldn't have a new iron in her house because to have a new iron meant she could not receive public assistance. Since when does having a new iron to iron your clothes to go out and look presentable speak to the fact that you don't need food stamps? There's enough food in the freezer for your children. And by the way, she had like 5 or 6 children. So she couldn't get married to a man who cared about her because it meant that he would have to be responsible for all of the children that was not his. There was going to be no support for her. She couldn't even say that she was dating him without punitive action being taken against her. So it caused her to have to sneak. An adult woman and man had to sneak and have a relationship. Just like when we were slaves. We had to sneak to be with one another. So fast forward, mass incarceration. They pull us out of our community. The police, they kill us with impunity, right? Children, they snatch out of the home. All of these things are separating us. And what can we do to bring us back together? What can we do to heal? What can we do to have justice? Right? So I believe that this is a practice that we can begin to utilize in our communities, where we begin to heal our communities because no one else is going to do it for us.
You can snap.
Yeah, let's snap. I mean, when they say, the example would be how we would use it is, for example, a child is removed for neglect, reasons of neglect.
Yes.
Which is lack, which is poverty. So inadequate housing. They may get their child removed by ACS.
Right.
But why would we punish the parent for not having enough money to have proper housing? I mean, anyone I ask, they want a house with a pool in the backyard, right? What do you
Yes.
want? Right, pretty much. We want these extra things, basketball courts, whatever it is we're into. I want a roller skating rink. To say that, that means lend support to that family. Because we're taking children out of the home and paying someone outside of the community to take care of that child. And if you notice, all funds in our communities go outside of our communities. So if we have a male or a female for that matter that is incarcerated from our zip code, the money goes upstate. We can't even claim them on our census. So when we start talking about getting federal dollars or whatever it is to our communities, we don't get that for these people. But the families from these communities are still responsible to take care of those people. So there is an imbalance
Yes.
of how the finances play out in our community, how they're distributed versus how they're received. There's no money being received in our community, but a lot being paid out. We're overcharged for loans. The interest rate is higher for everything that we do.
So the restorative practice would be towards the families
It would be
and
to
the youth,
absolutely.
as teaching them ways to prevent these things from happening, to bridge the gap between children being removed from homes, or is it to
We
the
are-
restorative practice towards the
People who work at
The people that work at the agencies.
Well, we would help people at the agencies identify what the real problem is, right? So we can begin to call it what it is. Because we have people thinking there's 10,000 children in the system because people of color are neglectful and abusive towards their children when that's not the case. People of color live in poverty,
Correct.
Fact.
right? And that's not necessarily a choice of our own.
And that would be a form of restorative practice. And
Absolutely.
helping someone in your community who doesn't understand that, to understand that.
Right.
And let's
And
not forget-
validate them for the strengths that they have.
And also validating them for the effort of trying to repair something that doesn't need to be repaired, but for opening their mind to understand that this is what's really happening, right?
Right.
Where
Okay.
together.
So for us, the way that restorative justice works for us, I think on two levels. One, it connects us to a tool that was practiced by those from whom we descended. I think for many times that some of the models that are used to prepare our minds and to approach some of the issues that we may have come from sources and practices that don't necessarily consider our unique style of learning, or it doesn't reflect from an empowering point of view ideas that come from folk who we can exalt as those who can heal us. So the second thing I think it does, it provides a practical tool of empowerment for the men and women that we service at Exodus. For example, many of the men and men that we service at Exodus, they feel powerless because now they're coming home to re-enter into a community or society which they feel they can make no contribution, right? So the immediate thing is, let me get a job, and when I get a job, everything else is going to fall in place. What restorative practice says, listen, here is a method of healing, of conversation, that you can learn and you can apply on any given weekday with your family instead of watching TV. Come on, circle up, and let's have this conversation about what re-entry looks like for me, what's going on with you. I know I've been gone for a long period of time. I know that may have to do some traumatic effect me. I don't know, but let's have a conversation about that. And as a family, how can I adjust back in society using this particular method? So I think one of the things that it does practically is put the tool of empowerment back into the hands of the men and women themselves. So when they go to their family, they don't have to look for anybody else or any outside institution, but they themselves are empowered with the tools necessary to bring their family healing, to bring their family together. Now everything else comes afterwards,
Right.
but it doesn't cost $1 million to have that session.
Right.
It doesn't cost $2,000 to go see a psychologist and have that conversation.
Right.
I'm empowered myself and qualified and authorized, right, through my ancestry with a tool that I can use to rebuild my community right away, immediately upon my release. So I think that one of the things it does practically is empowers an individual with a tool they can use, but internally, it gives them the motivation, the self-esteem, the confidence that they need to engage these other institutions from a position of strength, as opposed to a position of, I'm nobody, I don't have no strength. But no, I'm empowered with this tool, and now I can engage you from a point of view where I'm strong as opposed to weak. I'm at a strength.
That definitely
opposed to
requires a snap up.
Yes, Jamal, that's so true. That's so good. That makes me think of the churches. Like every corner in Brooklyn, there's a church. There's a church everywhere you turn around, and it just makes me think when you talk about restorative practice, it's like, why isn't there someone on every corner? Why isn't there two? Why are we doubled up? Why are we grabbing these children's hands? Why aren't we talking to the people? Because there's so many people sitting in these churches, that's right across the street from these housing developments, and they're not crowded. They're not, where are the people at? They're in their houses, come outside, scream, they're at the windows, their voices are so uplifted in the church. And when I think about restorative practices, I think about the authority and the power that they have to come out and pray and to heal people, to be able to do that. And I know they say, a lot of times when I talk, they say, you're talking to the choir, but like, you damn right I'm talking to the choir, because those are the people that I want to come out and speak to the people, you're doing good, you're so much into this glory, you're getting all of this praise and all these wonderful things are coming to your life. Don't you want to share that with somebody? You know, I think that is a form of restorative practice for me. Being able to heal, being able to come out and share love and wisdom with somebody else, teaching someone to pray, praying for somebody that you don't know. You know, when you talk about it, everybody who goes to church on a regular basis, we know the story. We love God, we understand God, and we know Him. But for the ones that don't, come outside and help them because they don't know. And that is another form of restorative practice. Like, you can do this in your community at any level, you know, but it takes a will, like you said. You know, the people that come to your task program, they come, first of all, you validate them because they walk in that door. You understand? For you, because you're a young mentor, and you're at the 4 A's, right? How do you implement restorative justice practices in your line of work?
Well,
Or with the youth that you serve?
we do RJ at 4A, which is Archers Alumni Academy for Advancement. And my company, CCFY, Community Connection for You, we use the circle. The circle has been found to be very powerful. And it starts at home. Believe it or not, it starts at home. So, you know, a lot of households don't have the male figure in their household. So they have programs like the Big Brother program and everything like that. We have a circle with these kids.
Which actually means more Big Brothers.
Yes, yes. That's why I'm in every hood. I will come to every hood. We have a circle. And like you know, it was said earlier, that circle has no head, no tail. Everybody's equal. And one thing about that circle is 360. So everything hitting everybody. So it's each one, teach one. What they learn from individuals, they take it back to their community, and they teach a little brother and a little sister the ways of life. The struggles, the passion, the hope, the trauma, everything that they learn to deal with in that circle, they take it back to their community. For instance, I have youth that may not know anybody because we help 5 boroughs: Staten Island, Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens. We got them all in one circle. Where kids never have been out of Queens, or kids never have been from Manhattan, or kids never came from Brooklyn, or kids never came from the Bronx, so they just see everybody else with different ethics, different places, and it's all the same. We all equal. And they see that, so it's a vibe that they get, and it's that love that they feel that they get from each and every individual. When I'm on the train, yo, and you get in a situation, how do you go about it? And they peer next to them and be self-taught. I tell them I don't want to go back to jail, because if I go back to jail, then my mother's going to be stressed. Or I don't want to see my brother look at me like, you know, that's what I want to be. I want to do what he's doing, which is be behind bars. No, I want my brother to see I'm about to graduate from this program in school. So we teach these kids that everyday life is going to be hills that you have to get over. It's going to be balls that you got to curve. It's going to be cars you got to dodge, and you got to keep going forward. Every step that you make is a stepping stone and a pedestal just for you to be great. That's one thing I tell these kids. You could be great by just helping the next person. Back in my day, you know, we seen kids help grandmothers and people across the street, or help them in the house with their groceries. I don't see that anymore. But these kids that I'm teaching now, they starting to do it.
That's right.
And they little brothers and little sisters starting
It
to
can
do
be
it.
taught. It can be taught.
So it's coming into show and improve. And like he said, if we all come together, we all gonna come together and we're gonna make greatness. You're gonna see things in 2018, 2019, where kids is gonna be the ones that's helping everything. It's not gonna be a jail. Because you can run to your big brother, you can run to your big sister, and they can help you.
Right.
With any situation you go through. So them circles is what we use.
Listen to your home. To your work outside. When we talk about the choir, you can bring it outside. So what I just want to ask, and I'm gonna join as well. We all gonna give 2 words that makes a successful circle. What makes a successful circle? What makes a successful circle when you're using these restorative practices? If someone's going to use this at home, or someone's going to use this in their workplace, or someone's going to use this near their church, across the street, in
Just
the
2
neighborhood.
words?
I mean, if you want to give 3, that's fine.
Okay.
But I'm just aiming for 2. You know, 2 very strong words that makes a
I
successful
can give you 2 words, but I have to explain it. Words are, respect rules. Respect rules. If y'all remember, at the beginning of the class, when we first formed that circle, one of the first things we did, we said everybody come up with 1 rule. That these are the things we're not going to have in this circle. Everybody came up with one. So now and then we put it up on the board. Now this is not what me, Prince, or Saj came up with. The class came up with this as a community. So once you do that, everybody in that community has to respect all those rules.
Do you want inside this circle?
Right.
Go ahead, Joyce. Give us your 2 words.
I guess my 2 words would be speaking with love, seeking to heal. You want to speak from your heart. You want to tell the truth, but you want to deliver that truth in a way that people can hear it. You want to validate what they're doing correctly, right? And then you want to encourage them to make some adjustments for things that may not be going as well and working out as well for them. So
I think, I guess 2 phrases, 2 words, 2 phrases, right? One is, one mic, non-judgment.
Yes.
You can say it. But you elaborate, brother, right? So one mic requires a couple of things. One mic requires that you listen
Okay.
to what other people have to say. Without preparing in your mind a response to defend or to argue, just quiet your mind and listen as an open vessel to what other people have to say. Very important. And the second part of that is non-judgment. No matter what a person shares, if they trust the process, then what they share is secret, right? So it shouldn't be judged. It should be taken for what it is and used for the purpose of upliftment and healing.
Prayer. At every circle.
Oh, now you're going to take mine.
Those really help me. At the end of those circles, I'll be in that prayer.
we all be vegan. That's what we do.
That's the code. That's the code. In the group, we have learned that you cannot leave that group without putting that closure on it. And last but not least, keep it confidential.
Absolutely.
You have to keep it confidential because in that circle, people is bleeding out their soul. It takes a lot from an individual to share what they're going through.
Absolutely.
So that you take it heat.
You
say it great.
Token piece. I love the token piece in the circle because
Yes, you do.
she holds
You
it like
can,
she loves it. In your home, in your school, you know, wherever, you can always, inside the circle, when you talk about one mic, we use a talking piece. And it could be anything, like, we have someone that actually used a bachelor's degree in Institute for Transformative Mentoring, and we just pass it around. And when we talk about one mic, when you have that token piece, it gives you an opportunity to let go things in your life or at that moment that you've never let go before. Because you may be healing somebody else in that room at that moment. We should give ourselves a wonderful night. This is the incredible messengers.